Path of Titans is an upcoming dinosaur MMO RPG survival game, which is something that's taken the dinosaur community by storm in recent years. This game has been blowing up within the dinosaur community, and it's one that's making a name for itself and is quite pivotal to the community as a whole. That being said, today I'm going to give you a full review on this game, telling you everything you need to know, and at the end I'm putting all the scores from each category together to give you a full score on whether you should buy it now, consider it, wishlist it, not recommend it, or don't buy it altogether. Each section in the video is on the screen now via its timestamps. However, if you are new, feel free to subscribe. But other than that, let's get right into the video. So, a quick recap on what Path of Titans is. Path of Titans is a dinosaur game, a dinosaur survival game where you play as the dinosaur. I know there's quite a few games like that. There's The Isle, there's Beast of Bermuda, to name a few. However, this one is slightly different. This one goes down the MMO survival style route compared to Beast of Bermuda and The Isle, which go down a full hardcore survival route, which makes it a lot harder. That being said, to grow in this game, currently there is growth. You grow from baby to adult. However, to do that, you do quests. Quests will also give you in-game currency, which you can put towards skins and the likes of that, and new abilities for your dinosaur. To add to that, there are also a wide amount of dinosaurs in the game. There is a bunch of carnivores, for example, Daspletosaurus, Alioramus, Metriacanthosaurus, Latina Venatrix, Allosaurus, and more. And there are also a bunch of herbivores like Eotriceratops, Iguanodon, Camptosaurus, Lambiosaurus, and more. However, the game also has a very good map as well. It has mod support and stuff like that. However, that is pretty much all I need to say for the game to give you an entire rundown on what is in this game. And at the end of the day, it's a quick run up on the game. However, let's just get into the review. So, this review is split into multiple sections. This first one is accessibility. Now, these multiple sections have subsections which score potential of 10 for each subsection. So, for accessibility, we've got price, platforms, and requirements. For the price of Path of Titans, this game is currently sat around $30. So, you'll be set back $30 when you buy the game, which is a fair price compared to other big games because they, sit around $60. However, when you compare it to other dinosaur games like Beast of Bermuda, The Isle, and others, they sit around below $20, which means Path of Titans is quite expensive to be able to play it on the PC. That being said, it does have a trick up its sleeve. It has a mobile version which is currently worth $15, and when you buy the $30 version, you get both a mobile access version and a Path of Titans PC access version. To add to this, there is also a free demo on mobile as well, which you should consider. The price tag for PC is $30, and that includes mobile and PC. There's no option to just get PC on its own, which is quite sad. But for the price of Path of Titans, I'll give it a 6. It is well respected. However, compared to other dinosaur games in its category, it's easily outshone. For platforms, Path of Titans is on 2 platforms, mobile and PC. Now, the way the ranking works for platforms, it's 3 marks per platform. So 3 for PC, 3 for mobile, 3 for console, and an extra mark to get it up to 10 if it's on all of them. That being said, Path of Titans gets a 6 out of 10 for this category because you can play it on mobile and PC. The requirements for this game, though, are slightly interesting because I don't actually have an actual representation of what this game can run on PC, so I can't really tell you a full score for the PC requirements. However, we have the requirements for mobile. You need at least iOS 14 and higher or an iPhone 6s or higher for iOS. For Android, it is Android 8.0 with at least 3GB of RAM. The phone must support Vulkan and OpenGL ES 3.2 as well. The game is constantly growing. Bear that in mind, so older phones might be phased out because the game will get way too much bigger and the likes of that. PC, however, is a little harder for me to gauge whether it actually does have support for earlier versions. So far, you need Windows 10. If you're on Mac, it supports Mac OS and it supports Linux as well. However, that's all I can really say. There is no specific specifications on the website that I can get hold of. So for the game's requirements, I'm going to say it is getting a 6 out of 10 as well. Overall, for accessibility, this puts it at an 18 out of 30, which is solid. It's solid for the accessibility. I mean, it is let down a little bit because it doesn't specifically tell you the requirements for the game on PC, and I feel like it could get some more marks if it does tell you exactly what you need. But at the end of the day, this is 4 points higher than Draconia's 14 out of 30, which if you haven't checked out my Draconia review, I recommend you do. Gameplay is the biggest section, and it's got a whole bunch that we need to talk about, so let's just get right into it. So, we have combat first. Combat in this game isn't amazing, but it isn't bad either. At the end of the day, if you want a game that has really good combat, Beast of Bermuda and the Isle are slightly better in that regard. The Isle is probably the best for combat. And if you're playing on a community server that has lag issues like mine, combat is even worse, so do bear that in mind. If you're in a populated area, you could glitch around and teleport a little bit, which is an issue the game had last year, and it's started to come back. At this moment in time, the combat meta is basically bum riding, face tanking, and small boy crushing, and that's pretty much what the meta in the game at the moment is. There isn't really any mechanics to spruce up the combat, like pounce for the raptors and stuff like that. So for combat, it will get a 6 out of 10. Single player is next, and truthfully, I think this is very similar to Draconia's single player. However, because there is no AI in the game, and the only thing that you can do is grow the dinosaur and do quests. However, there is something that Draconia does not have, and that is mods. You can play mods in single player and in multiplayer as well if the community servers have them. However, there are a lot of mods that you can play as and have a look at in the game, which is pretty neat, and it definitely increases the lifespan of your single player replayability, which for single player I was going to give it a 5 out of 10, but the modding support and everything is pretty neat and compared to Draconia, which doesn't have that, so it gets a 6 out of 10. Multiplayer I personally think is very good. Most populated servers are official ones or the odd community servers which have a long fold standing. However, I do think that it is very easy to play with people, and the fact is, when you play with people, it makes the game so much more funner. Group quests, group hunting, group activities, just playing together and having fun, and events on the community servers is always very nice. That being said, it is very good on multiplayer in my opinion. You just have that issue of the combat issue, and I feel like if that combat issue does persist, it does knock multiplayer down an issue quite a bit. However, multiplayer at the moment, I do give it an 8 out of 10, because with community servers, with the official servers, with the huge amount of people on the server, a huge amount of new activities that you could do, modded servers and the likes of that, you'll be playing this game for a long time in multiplayer, and you shouldn't really get too bored, and when you do, you can switch to mods. Mechanics. So the game has growth, it has abilities, it has quests, it has its in-game currency, combat abilities and stuff like that. However, abilities for me, mechanics, there should be more. It's definitely missing out some of the pivotal gameplay mechanics that a lot of big dinosaur games in this genre do have. So to me, mechanics is something that is let down a little bit in the demo part of this game. However, in the future, this is something that will be beefed up, because I feel like combat's getting reworked. We're going to be getting a pounce mechanic, we're going to be getting some other combat mechanics and the likes of that, but at the moment, because it doesn't have them, it gets a respectable 6 out of 10. Replayability is like a whole host of things really. However, this game is really replayable. You can play this game quite a bit. With the addition of growth, you can grow multiple dinosaurs. If you want a slow growth process, you go on the official servers. If you want to do the quests but have increased mark rewards, you go on my server. If you want passive growth, you go on some modded servers and other community servers. That being said, every server has a different gameplay experience, and you can grow different dinosaurs in every single server and keep them to those servers as well, which means when you go on a different one, you start afresh, and it's actually pretty neat that way. That being said, I do think once the game is fully completed, its replayability will be a lot closer to 10 than it is now. However, it is very, very close to 10 at the moment, with replayability being an 8.5 out of 10. For characters, there are a lot of characters in the game. You know, you've got a lot of different dinosaurs, excluding modded ones. We're not talking about modded ones at the moment, but if you do want to factor in modded ones, they had a whole host of new things. So far, there are a lot of dinosaurs in the game. I like how they also highlight some unknown dinosaurs that you might have not heard of. Eotriceratops and Latinovenatrix, to name a few. The sheer amount of dinosaurs here outweighs the Isle of Remus and Beast of Bermuda's rosters currently. The characters' models and the calls on them are pretty good. Some of the animations are a little bit janky. However, these are stuff that are getting improved all the time. Same with the models. They've recently released a brand new rework of the Styracosaurus model, which is always pretty neat. That being said, for characters, because it does have a large amount of characters but it doesn't have its full potential of characters, so far it has a 7 out of 10. However, this could push to an 8, 8.5 or maybe even a 9 out of 10 in the future. Customization finally is the final part of gameplay. Now, customization in this game is a little bit restrictive. I'm going to go through that really quickly. You have a male and female skin, which is changing the colors, doesn't change anything else. You also have a wider variety of subspecies. You have 3 subspecies per dinosaur, and then you have 6 patterns to change for your skins and 3 different patterns for the skins themselves. So it means that you have different choices of colors. You have 3 different patterns for your skin. You have a lot of skins, but the color palette itself is very, very limiting, and you're really only kept to the dinosaur's looks in what's in the subspecies. You can't really customize it how you want. If you were able to customize your dinosaur how you want, it definitely get it up there a little bit more. So for customization, because it's not barren, it's not useless, it's actually still quite good with the huge amount of skins. It'll get a 6 out of 10, which the total for gameplay gives me a 47.5 out of 70, more than half here. It is a very respectable score, and it edges out Draconia by about 3.5 points here. The next section is development. Now, this basically scores the development status and the frequency of updates. Now, the game will naturally be let down by its development status because it is in very, very early development. So let's just jump right into development status. So the game is currently a demo. It's not even in alpha. It's not even in the pre-release phase yet. I'm pretty sure it is in alpha, but it's in a demo phase. It's not in pre-release. It's not released. So at the moment, it's actually really far off what it wants to be and what it aims to be. That being said, there is a lot of mechanics done here, and for a demo it's very complete, but as it is a demo, it gets a 4 out of 10. However, in the future when the game is complete, it'll definitely rank up higher depending on how well it is doing for itself. The update frequency is also very good. Now, here's something that I can tell you about this game. If you were to compare Path of Titans updates to the Isles updates this year, you'll see that the Isle has released 1 update so far, or 2 updates so far. Update 3, update 3.5, 4.5 are currently in testing and not officially released yet, whereas Path of Titans has released a handful of new dinosaurs, it's released abilities, it's released food and diets, it's released growth, and a whole bunch more. The game currently does a major update every 2 months, and it releases a dinosaur roughly every month, but obviously, you know, there are some outliers there. That being said, this game does push out updates, and then it pushes out fixes as well. That being said, I think the frequency of updates here is a trump card for this game. The developers work very hard, and it's a big hats off to them. So they're able to keep the population of the game very satisfied due to the amount of updates, and they plan on keeping this game going 5 to 10 years after its release. So for frequency of updates, if it keeps the way it is, it gets an 8 out of 10 so far, which is very respectable. So far for this section, it gets a 12 out of 20, which is pretty neat. However, it is let down by how young the game is. This is the same issue that Draconia had, because they're both in very early stages. Draconia is in pre-alpha, this is in demo, so it's definitely not a final form of what it is. This game's community to me is absolutely fantastic. To be fair, in my opinion, it's up there with Draconia's community, as the two communities are two communities that I have massively loved being involved with, and I just enjoy being in them. That being said, the players. So, for the players, this basically looks at the population. This game is growing. It's grown a lot since its last update, and if you were to go on an official server like I mentioned previously, you'll definitely not be out of an empty server. You'll be in a relatively full server with about 100 people on it. Now, I do want to say the map does feel a little bit barren at times. It may be hard to find some people, but at the moment, because of growth, you are finding people a lot more often than previously in the game. That being said, this game is very good player-wise, and if you don't want to play on officials, there are some very populated community servers which have their own community feel as well. For community and players, it gets an 8 out of 10. For community involvement, this is is something that does score another 8 out of 10, and that's because personally I think it's very, very involved with the game. You can suggest improvements for the game, you can help the developers find bugs, and you get rewards for doing so. And overall, I feel like the developers are also very involved with the community, always chatting in the Discord server, sometimes joining game servers and talking to people, and every now and then you'll catch either Matt or Jiggy bullying me in my own streams. Jiggy still hasn't agreed to joining my Christmas streams though, so I can't believe you've done this. But that being said, the game's community involvement is amazing, and that's why it gets an 8 out of 10 for me. I feel like it will get higher if it does some other stuff to get the community involved more, like contests, more events and stuff like that. That being said, for the community, it gets a nice 16 out of 20. Finally, we have the map and the graphics. Now, the map, Pandora, is huge. It's a 9x9 map, 9x9 kilometer map, which is very nice. And it's mainly full of lakes, grasslands, redwood forests, and the likes of that. However, it, to me, is something that feels repetitive over time. I feel like it definitely needs a little bit more sprucing up in terms of just a bit more variety in its biomes. However, the game is getting its own second map in the future, so that might change it and make things, you know, you have that island map, then you have the Pandora map that is currently in the game. But we are ranking Pandora as a whole. I think it gets a 7 out of 10. It is a big map. Sometimes it is hard to find players, and sometimes it does feel the same. However, there are a lot of activities on the map. Quests keep you interacting with the map overall, and I feel like you do need to explore every nook and cranny of the map, because there are so many places I didn't even know existed. Like, I found a little cave the other day that I didn't even know existed. Now, for the graphics, it's absolutely beautiful. I can say that straight out of hand. However, I do believe the Isle of Reema's graphics are better. However, I do really like this game's graphics. Path of Titans' graphics are fantastic. The god rays, the sunsets, the sunrises, I think it looks absolutely beautiful. And I just like how it molds with the map type and how it just feels so nice overall and just feels like you're in a prehistoric world, which I really, really like. You could definitely get more out of the graphics in this game. I don't play on the maximum graphics, however, I don't see many big improvement from graphics before and the graphics now. However, for graphics, I give it a 7 out of 10. This gives map and graphics as a whole a 14 out of 20, which is a very respectable overall rank for this section. And there we have it. That is the overall Path of Titans review. However, the final scores on the doors. So we had 5 categories here, which had a huge amount of points attributed to the game. Now, where do I put this? Because we have an additional 5 slots for what I think you should do with this game. Do I think you should never buy this game? Do I think it's not recommended, however you might if you want it? Do I think you should wishlist it? Do I think you should consider it? Or do I think you should straight up buy it now? So Path of Titans sits at around 107.5 out of a potential of 160, which overall puts it in a consider buying. I think you should consider buying this game. I feel like if you are in the market for a dinosaur game that has quests and stuff like that and is different to the other dinosaur games, it's definitely one you should consider adding it to your collection. That being said, it is a consideration, and I do think this game might go into the buy category once more updates and it's fully completed. That being said, do bear in mind this game is a demo currently, so a lot of things in it will change. This is a review of the demo, and I think that I will be coming back to review this game when it is fully completed. I might do a pre-release review and then a full release review as well, so I recommend you tune into them in the future as well. Let me know your thoughts on Path of Titans in the comments down below. Where do you think it sits in the review? What category do you think it sits in? But other than that, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are new, feel free to like and subscribe and suggest to me what game I should consider reviewing next. I've already done Draconia and Path of Titans, and I recommend you check out the Draconia video. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.